Greg, it's time to shoot. Where are you?
Hi, I'm Craig,
I am Jake.
and today we're going to review horror novels.
So, for our first selection this evening, I chose Nosferatu by Joe Hill, and that's spelled NOS4A2, like the vanity license plate. This book's actually about a 150-year-old vampire who has a Rolls-Royce Wraith, a 1938 Rolls-Royce Wraith. A 1938 Rolls-Royce Wraith, which...
And a wraith being like a ghost, right? Like the word wraith means like a ghost. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And the car itself actually runs, instead of on gasoline, it runs on human souls. So what he does is he goes around different cities and stuff throughout the novel and picks up innocent children and kind of sucks their soul out and takes them to this place called Christmas Land, where the book says the fun never stops, and every morning is Christmas morning. And what is left when they arrive there is just like hate and teeth, because their souls like vanished. The main character in this novel, when it starts, actually has this tricycle that she can use. So when she goes over this covered bridge, it takes her where she wants to go, like to find lost things. And later in the novel, as she grows up, she gets a Triumph Bonneville motorcycle to use against the main character, which I already said is a vampire named Charles Talent Manx III. And what I liked about this novel is that it has one of the best opening scenes, I think, in a novel that I've read. It's very imaginative and immersive, and it also has art by Gabriel Rodriguez, who did Lock and Key, which Craig is going to tell you about in a second, which is Joe Hill's comic book series. Anyway, if you like books about vampires and just Joe Hill in general, or Stephen King books, I think you should check this one out. It takes the original vampire story and spins it in a way you've never seen it before. This book can be read at any time of year. I recommend you read it during either Christmas time or the Halloween season, because then you get the full effect of it. And another thing I liked about it, it has like homages to Stephen King's work, and it also expands on Joe Hill's universe, because before this novel he has two other books and one other short story collection. So it actually expands on his books. So you don't have to read those before you read this one, but you get more of the context that way.
So you mentioned Christmas is involved in this?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like how Tim Burton always mixes Halloween and Christmas.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's kind of like a Jack Skellington thing, only creepier.
Also, when you read this, I have this thought when it comes to horror books is you either read like a fun kind of horror, like zombie books, or like a creepy horror where you want to have the lights on? Which one is it?
This is kind of both of them, I
Yeah.
think. Because, like, it has the imaginative stuff, the creative side to it, and then the classic horror. And it kind of meshes together.
That's cool. Whenever I know my wife is reading a horror book, she'll be in the bedroom, and I'll sneak up to the door, and I'll open the door real fast, so she jumps.
Also, I think this is like a culmination of everything, like all, not all his tools, but all the tools he's used in his past novels, combined into one.
So going on to more Joe Hill, we talked briefly about the graphic novel that he wrote. It's called Lock and Key. And I just found out today that the artist who does the art in this book also throws a little art in the Nosferatu book. I'll show you the insert here. See? I thought that was really cool.
And show him like
The back.
Yeah.
The back is really cool. You got kind of like a scary moon involved there.
And that's actually the bridge she uses in the course of the novel.
She's like the main good guy, right?
Yeah, it's Vic McQueen, which is a really cool name.
So, this book has to do with the Locke family. They move into a haunted house, would you say?
Yeah.
Like a creepy house, and they find these keys that unlock like special powers that allow them to do things. I saw like they travel to like kind of like a spirit world or something like that. And I'm not gonna speak too much about this. I just brought it up because of the whole Joe Hill thing, Jake's favorite author. I wanted to mainly talk about my favorite horror graphic novel, I Am Legend, which is also one of my favorite horror books, written by Richard Matheson. And it's very different from the movie. The movie giving you kind of like a happy ending because that's kind of what Americans are really into when they go to their movies. They want like a happy, feel-good ending. But in this book, in this graphic novel, I could say spoiler alert, but it's a very old book, so the main character, Robert Neville, actually dies at the end.
And isn't he like a white guy in this one?
Yeah, the white guy with a blonde beard and blonde hair. And what I really, really liked about this is that the whole story is told within his mind. Because being by himself, being the last person alive on Earth, is he doesn't have anybody to talk to. So everything you hear, like all the dialogue, is all in his head, and it gives you like a story of someone who's struggling through memories of his family, of his friends, of his past life, and he struggles with like drinking every night, and he doesn't want to do that because he has to get up pretty early in the morning. That way he could leave his house and hunt down these vampires and kill them while they're sleeping. And what he's trying to do is kill as many of them as he can.
Because he has to get back before like nighttime and set up all his traps and stuff.
And the best part about it, besides like the inner monologue, is that these vampires consider themselves the next evolution of humankind. And that Robert Neville is kind of like their horror figure. Like they're afraid of him. Like they talk about how he's like their villain in the story, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he befriends a dog.
Yeah.
But not like the movie where he already has a dog.
Yeah.
And they try to do that whole tear-jerk dog dying part. And the female character in the movie, I think, was based off the female character in this, which was actually a vampire who gains Robert Neville's trust and brings him to the pack, the vampire pack, and that's how they kill him. Well, like I said, it's an old story. I mean, I should have had to bet that he dies.
Yeah.
The book is it's a really short read, but this seems like a really thick graphic novel.
I noticed it was like all in black and white.
Yeah. They use a lot of cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is where you get like shading, like a tonal shade with just using lines,
Mm-hmm.
like crossing lines and stuff. It's really good. Being that it's literature and art, it doesn't really have an R rating, but there is nudity and swearing and things like that, and alcohol use and drug use. So, but yeah.
Yeah, and there is that in mine too.
Yeah. You have another book you want to talk about, Jake?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's see this.
The next book I want to discuss is a more recent one. It's called The Deep by Nick Cutter, who's actually a new horror author. He's only got one other book out. Well, two. He's only got two other books out, other than this one.
Are they part of a trilogy? Or
No, they're all like standalone ones. But this one is about a plague that's overtaken the world called the Gets. And what happens is people start forgetting things like their anniversary or their birthday or whatever, and it progresses to like they forget how to drive, and basically they forget how to function. The main character in this novel that the story focuses on is a man by the name of Luke Nelson, who is a veterinarian, and who is basically his brother is part of this scientific team that is sent down like 8 miles below sea level to investigate and test this substance that's supposed to heal anything like the Gets especially, and he's sent down there for like a very specific reason. One thing I really loved about this novel is that you get like Nick Cutter builds his characters so well that you really get to know them. Like he'll like expand on like a thought.
mm-hmm.
Like the character will have a thought about something, and then it'll go into like an entirely different story. Like
Is that kind of like what Stephen King does?
yeah, but you can go.
So the part I'm thinking of is Stand By Me, when the main character tells a story about that fat dude.
Yeah.
And you get like a whole another story just based on that.
Mm-hmm. But it's basically like everything about his backstory, and all the other characters have their own stories to tell. And
Mm-hmm.
but what I really love about this one is that he like describes the things that happen to the characters so well. Like he spends like a page just on how what happens to a character.
You were saying he gets real into detail with how they die.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Like, can you picture the gore and blood and everything in your mind?
Yeah.
You're demented.
So this has been your spooky media crush for today. Be sure to tune in for another episode.
And make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. And leave us a comment. Tell us about your favorite spooky stories. And tell us what we did right, what we did wrong, what you want to see in another episode. And remember, kids, get 100 subscribes, we get a second season. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, am I out of the shot?
I can still see you a little bit. I can still see your back.